Howdy everyone, and welcome back to the Luna Geeks Out channel. It has been a good while since we've checked anything out on here, and this video has been far too long in the making. Of course, it's a historical themed song coming from Kanonenfieber, so some good World War I history, and me being the fool that I am, I decided it would be good to research the topic and dive into it in the video. And a busy schedule with classes, and an unfortunate battle with a depressive episode meant that, the research took far longer than it should have. It took me like 2 weeks to read a single chapter of a book, so it was an interesting process, but we're finally through with that, finally able to check this out, and I'm very excited. We are checking out Der Füsilier I by Kanonenfieber. Hopefully I have, my German numbering methodology there, right there. I know the numbers in German. I'm get a little confused with how to apply them at times. Unfortunately, my German is not particularly good. But very, very excited to check this out. This is going to be my first Kanonenfieber reaction on the channel, though not the first one I filmed. I did film a reaction to the Yankee Division March when that released. And that was back when I was using the old camera, and if y'all were around back then, y'all know that that had a tendency to just stop filming out of nowhere, so that one had that issue, and, of course, was unable to be released. So, excited to finally be doing a proper reaction to some Kanonenfieber content, aside from the few unboxings we've done in the past. So, yeah, without further ado, let's hop into it. And right off with the heaviness, I gotta turn that up a tiny bit. Already getting a bit more of the, a little bit more of that black metal side of things instead of, most of Kanonenfieber stuff is a bit closer to the death metal side of things. And glad to hear a bit more of that sort of black metal edge to this so far. Oh, some great sampling. I'm curious what's being sampled here. I'm not familiar with old recordings such as this, unfortunately. The Iron Cross, a EK2, I believe that would be. Ooh, good bass tone back there, nice and raw. I like that. Sort of a militaristic drum beat. Stuff happening with the guitar. Oh, fantastic vocals. Honestly, these might be the best I've heard from Noise so far. Good old, like, little echo there, or I guess that'd be an echo. Okay. Oh, nasty right there. Oh, that guitar tone in the background there? Oh, that is awesome. Okay, and a little bit of, imbalance with that guitar there. A bit more to the, left. That was actually a really cool effect there. bit of speed coming in now. Nice. Love the inclusion of, like, the old photographs and postcards and such in here. I mean, that stuff's such a good representation of history, of course, and, it's good to see, like, the actual stuff being included, instead of just, you know, modern film stuff. A little bit of an atmospheric section now. Nice. Really cool. A really cool guitar tone. Good drumming. And some sampling again. Very nice. There we go. Bit in a fade out. Nice, nice. Love a good fade out in a song when it's done well, you know. Yeah, it's done well here. Yeah, that was really good. I'll have to wait for that, you know, new song magic to wear off, but honestly, might be my favorite Kanonenfieber song so far. It is gonna be pretty dang hard to beat, oh, what am I thinking of? Yankee Division March, because I really like that one. But this was crazy good. I mean, good chord. Well, I'll dive into all of that later, but this was crazy good. Yeah, let's talk about the history on this. So, I'm going to be using two separate translations for this, primarily using the translation on lyricstranslate.com, but there's going to be one or two lines I'll be grabbing from Genius, just because I prefer the phrasing that it has there. But, so the song opens up, we took to the Carpathians, fled the enemy in Galicia, and this is very much an overview of this. This song seems to be about the sort of winter war, if you will, of 1914 and 1915 on the Eastern Front. The Carpathians, of course, a mountain range here that saw a lot of combat, and Galicia is, to somewhat oversimplify things, is basically just the region that a lot of that fighting took place in Poland and Ukraine, I believe I saw that it's located in. So there's not a lot to say on those, because those aren't necessarily specifics. It's just that's kind of the region we're set in. It sets the scene, basically. So then 100,000 men in Przemysl, I do apologize if I am butchering that pronunciation there. I am, from this point on, going to be using the pronunciation Przemysl, which seems to be the German pronunciation, which is a lot easier for me to say, so you'll have to forgive some inaccuracies and inconsistencies with this. But Przemysl is a town, a city in Poland, I believe. Yeah, a city in southeastern Poland. And in World War I, the Russians were attacking it starting in 1914. August 1914 seems to be when things really got going, and then September when the siege began. Going off of what I'm seeing here on Wikipedia, the Russians were attacking it. The Austro-Hungarians were defending it. The Russians ended up surrounding it, and you had this siege. And then there was a cavalry attack, I believe it was. There was a counter-attack. I actually mentioned in the song. I'll get into that in a moment. There's a counter-attack by, where is his name? This is going to be probably mispronounced, so I apologize for that. But a counter-attack by Svetozar Borovich von Bojna. I hope I'm getting that at least somewhat right. I believe it was he who led this counterattack, relieved the men in Przemysl, and then where's his name? I know the guy. I forget his name. So let me try to find this real quick. It was Konrad von Hotzendorf. Messed things up. I don't know too much about the leaders in World War I, but apparently that is not surprising for him. So definitely gonna have to read into that guy and see how much he ended up messing up throughout the war, if that is not a surprising thing. But he, to my understanding, was basically like, hey, you've had this success here, go and just attack the Russians, you can win. They couldn't win, it was a disaster. But to tie it specifically back into the song, 100,000 men in Przemysl, so we attempted the punchback on Genius. It translates it as a counter-attack, I think it was. Well, let me check that one more time. A counter-strike. Thus we prepare our counter-strike. So I prefer that phrasing. But 100,000 men, the strength of Austria-Hungary, that should not be so hard, was, according to Wikipedia, 138,000 men with 93,000 soldiers, and there were 137,000 casualties on the Austro-Hungarian side in this siege. So that number, well, not exact, fits generally. So that seems to just be the basic reference there. And then we attempt the punchback, we prepare our counter-strike, however you want to translate that. Seems to be a reference to that. I believe it was a cavalry attack that I mentioned. But just a reference to a very important battle within this time frame. There's a book on this that I've seen several times. I still need to get a copy on it. The Fortress, it's called. So if y'all are interested in reading more into this, I can't recommend the book because I haven't read it yet, but it is a thing. So keep an eye out for that if this is a topic you want to read more on. Next time I see the book, I'll probably be grabbing a copy. So one day I'll be able to actually give a proper recommendation for it if I enjoy it. But then we move on to the chorus with the next things I want to point out, with the line, Ein Helm, ein Gewehr, which of course translates to a helmet, a rifle. And I just want to point out, saying a helmet is sort of inaccurate, because this would be 1914, 1915. We didn't have the plural. Let me actually grab the things real quick so I can show them off. So, of course, at that point in time, they didn't have this, the Stahlhelm. This specifically is an M16 Stahlhelm shell, of course, introduced in 1916. There were helmets earlier than that, the Geda helmet, for example, but I don't believe that was used on the Eastern Front. I could be mistaken on that, though. It's not an item I've researched extensively, but, you know, they wouldn't have been using these at that point in time. They would have been using these, which you actually saw in the video, the Pickelhaube. I believe this is an is it the M15 Pickelhaube? I forget the model. It's been a while since I've researched this thing specifically, but this is the type of helmet they would have been using, and I personally consider the Pickelhaube as something slightly different helmet, because this isn't protective, right? This is leather. That's not going to protect you from much. I'd rather have this than nothing, but this is not really a helmet. This, to me, feels more in the lines of, I suppose, a kepi, right? It's just a really drippy hat that's part of the uniform, instead of something actually protective like we think of a helmet as. But I'm not going to, you know, call that as like a big inaccuracy, because the Pickelhaube is sort of considered a helmet. I think it's a little nebulous, I suppose. But I did want to point that out, that, you know, that could lead you to think that, oh, they're using, you know, the Stahlhelm, when, no, it would have been one of these. So that's just the one thing I wanted to point out, and I believe that's the first chorus. There could be like a bridge or something as well, even another verse. I'm not entirely sure the structure of this song, but I wanted to point that out just because, mostly, I just really wanted to rant about that because I think it's cool. Also, I wanted to show those items off because I think they're cool. But then the next thing I want to point out, the line, there we are at Jvanov Pass. Again, apologies for some potentially horrible pronunciation. Snow so high one can only stand. 2,000 men died already. That is a reference to the Battle of Zvinin, just another name for Jvanov. It's a mountain in Ukraine, several kilometers, 20, I believe it is. Where's that? Where does it say here? Yeah, roughly 20 kilometers from Again, my apologies, I do not know how to pronounce that city name, but roughly 20 kilometers from that city in Ukraine, there's a battle there from 1915, where were the specific dates? February 5th to April 9th, it says right there. I was trying to remember it, and I didn't have to because it wrote it down, so thank you, website. You saved me some thinking power or something. But there's not a lot of information on this battle out there. 33,000 Russians perished. Not sure how many on the Central Powers side, because that's not really something that I've been able to find. There is a book that has some information on this, to my understanding. The Kaiser's Reluctant Conscript, I believe it's called, but of course I don't have a copy of that, so I can't check in there to see what else it says on that. But there's not a lot of information on this, but it was a Central Powers victory, led them to basically claiming control of that region, and that's about it. It was, to my understanding, rather horrific. I mean, it was winter combat in the mountains. That would not be good, but there's not a lot of information on this battle out there, unfortunately. So I'm experiencing a mixture of being happy that this is mentioned, because I'd love to see these smaller, lesser-known, more obscure events get acknowledged, and angry that I have to research something that is very hard to. So, but very glad to see that is getting mentioned. If I ever do find any more information, I actually probably will make a YouTube video on the battle and get that story out there a bit more readily for folks, because what little I do know does seem quite interesting. And the final thing I want to point out is the rest of this verse. Well, the second to final thing I want to point out, the rest of this verse. Cold death has us in his grip, no supplies, we die in the ice, the hunger it rages and bites, fingers and toes are black, frozen to death, not fallen in battle. Now, as I was researching this, I wanted to get the basic grasp of just the beginnings of combat on the Eastern Front in general. And I found in John Keegan's The First World War, specifically on page 171, this quote from General von Kralowitz of the Austrian 10th Corps. Men already cut to pieces and defenseless. Every day hundreds froze to death. The wounded who could not drag themselves off were bound to die. There was no comforting the apathy and indifference that gripped the men, which ties, I'd say, perfectly into what we're seeing there in that line. Is just, I think, actually sums up sort of the horrors, the hardships of winter combat on the Eastern Front. It was not a good place to be at all, and I just going off of some actual stuff I've read, such as that quote that I just read to y'all, that what we see here in the song, this representation of winter combat does seem to be incredibly accurate. And then the final thing, the chorus, specifically the line, "Farm, wife, and children always with me." And just, I think, a reminder that, that they're marching on, they're in war, but they've got this family back at home, and they're wanting to get back to them. That sort of perhaps that memory of home is giving them strength. Perhaps they have something that they're specifically fighting for, but also a reminder that they're not home. They are in the midst of all of the horrors of combat, and I don't have any big point to make with that. I just wanted to point that out because I do really like that line. But yeah, some really good lyricism in here. A bit frustrating to research with the Battle of Zvenin because, oh boy, there's not a lot on that out there. But this was an excellent song and had some excellent lyricism in it. Now, to move on to talking about the music, I mean, what can I say? This was phenomenal. I mean, Kanonenfieber always delivers a good product, right? Yep. I've yet to be let down by one of their songs, aside from maybe Verschott und Ungeheimt. I believe the track is the acoustic one at the end of Menschenmühle is still just a little rough. But as far as the metal goes, yet to be let down by them, and this song, of course, is no exception to that. This was fantastic. Starting off with the vocals, as we tend to do, they were great. Honestly, probably the best I've heard from Noise so far. There was this just sort of, I think there's sort of a nastiness to them that, I loved it. Just some really good stuff. We got some good speed. At some points we had the slower, somewhat darker moments as well. Not quite as aggressive, but they hit a little harder, right? You felt a bit more, perhaps, anger and despair in them and everything. I thought that was super cool. Some great vocals in this. The guitar, that was great. The great tone in it. It had so many little moments. It was like, whoa, would have been nice to perhaps hear a guitar solo in this. Do love me a good guitar solo. But we had some great riffing, some great more atmospheric moments, some great sort of just little movements throughout it and everything. So yeah, fantastic guitar in here. The bass, for the most part, a little more subtle than I tend to like, but it was solid. But there were a few moments where it just had such a raw tone and really stood out. It was like, that's incredible. So really good bass in this song. Do wish it had been a little more apparent throughout most of it, but I mean, it was really good. What can I say? That was some great stuff. And then the drums, not quite as much to say with specific details, but I really liked them. There was that one sort of militaristic beat that I really liked. Throughout the rest of it, I mean, we just had sort of the expected sort of black metal sounding drums, had some blast beats in there, had just some really good cymbal tones, not a lot to point out with them, but it's like, yeah, just super good stuff. Great sort of support for everything else. Loved the drums in this, and yeah, I mean, that one section was really cool. Reminded me actually a little bit of, It's Grabenlieder, I believe it is, where, it samples the machine gun and then turns that into a drum beat. This reminded me, that one section reminded me of that section, whatever song it was. It's Grabenlieder or Grabenkampf. I'm always mixing those two up in my head. The sort of really taking sort of an auditory aesthetic element and really incorporating it into the music and doing something cool with it. Loved that. So yeah, that was great. And then we had some sampling of some historical speech in there. I don't know which one it was specifically. I didn't actually know there was one going into this, or I would have tried to track that information down. But love to hear that kind of thing. We've had that happen a lot in Kanonenfieber's music, and it's always great to hear it pop up. It's for me, I feel like it's a really good reminder that this was actually real stuff that happened, because you're hearing, words from that time sort of talking about, at the very least, something related to the topic of the song. And I mean, I certainly love to hear it, and I mean, it just sounds cool as well, beyond the sort of deeper meaning you can apply to it. So that was really cool. And yeah, just general stuff. There's that slower section with the vocals. Loved that. The chorus, super good. Really high energy with it. I really got into that. That was super fun. Yeah, I mean, good riffs, like I said, just good atmosphere to this song. I will have to see how I feel on this one with some more listens, with a bit of a deeper understanding, but I can very easily see this one becoming my favorite, as I sit with it a bit more. This was a phenomenal, really, really good song. But I don't really have anything more to say on the song. At this point, normally we'd hop onto Picker Wheel and select the next reaction there. But the new Baby Metal album just came out, so we'll be checking out the final single we had off of that, Mirror Mirror, I believe it was. And it'll be, I'm going to be reacting to every song off the album, so it'll be basically, going forth, it will be, Picker Wheel song, one of the tracks of the Baby Metal album, pick a real song, one of the tracks of the Baby Metal album, so on and so forth, until we're through with the album, and then back to normal schedule. But yeah, next time we'll be checking out, I believe it's Mirror Mirror. I could be mistaken on that, but it's whatever that final single they had was. Only reason I haven't already reacted to that was because I knew I was going to be getting to this one in just a day or two, so I held off to go in and knock this one out, because I've been wanting to get to this for a super long time. But yeah, that's review done, that's analysis done, that is choosing the next song done. So that is going to do it for the video. So thank you for watching, and be sure to like if you liked, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below with your own thoughts of the track, any feedback or criticism, or anything you want me to react to. In the description, link to the lyric video so you can go check it out, support the artist. Link to my Kanonenfieber videos playlist, my historical music deep dives playlist, my rock and metal reactions playlist. Don't think this is going into any others, so those will be down there so you can check out some similar content from me. There will also be links to my Discord server, my Instagram, my Twitter account, my Spotify playlist of all the songs I've reacted to, at least the ones up on Spotify. In my link tree, it has all my other stuff in it, including the YouTube channel where I talk about history and collecting and such, and the Instagram account where I post the stuff you can see behind me, some of the stuff I showed off earlier in the video, all my, historical collection. So if you want some more good history content, especially some World War I history content, check those out, because I am trying to be a bit more active on the Instagram and the YouTube channel and everything. It's been rough lately, but I am working on getting more stuff done with those, so yeah, check those out if you want some more history content. But that is going to do it for the video, so thank you all for watching, and until next time, I'll be seeing ya.